Okay, I know this may be a little bit of a silly topic to have on my channel, but it's just what I'm going through right now, so bear with me and join me if you wish. But my current obsession on Netflix is Jerry Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. And in each episode, he selects a certain classic vehicle to match that other comedian's personality and does a great job of it. That's part of why the show is so great. So it got me thinking, what would be mine? After all, since January 2006, I've driven the same car, which is a 2004 Honda Element. That's still my car. It's dependable, it's worn out, the CD player doesn't work, it's rusting, but it's dependable. And it'd be foolish for me to trade it in and then have to, to spend money on a car when I'm a stay-at-home dad, I don't even drive very far anyway. So at some point though, I'll get a new car. At some point, don't even know when that's gonna be. But naturally, if I could have any car at all, it'd be a Jeep Wrangler, which is funny because yeah, out of all the cars that exist, I'd be tempted by a Toyota Tacoma. I love those. But ultimately a Jeep Wrangler. And what's funny is I've only even been a passenger in one once. And for someone else who was also obsessed with Jeep Wranglers. I've never even driven one. And it's funny because the Jeep Wrangler is not the kind of vehicle, it's not a luxury vehicle. You don't drive it because it's a smooth ride or because it's a sign of luxury. In fact, it's kind of the opposite of that. I often talk about on this channel, so much of who we are is our identity. And when our identity feels attacked, we feel attacked. And the more you know about your identity, the less you'll feel attacked, because if someone says, hey, Nick, you're ugly. Your teeth don't match up to your nose. What's crooked, your mouth or your nose? Well, the answer is my nose. I have a crooked nose. It's not straight, see? And I have astigmatism. So at times I can look cross-eyed or because they move at different rates. Or Nick, you're only 5'9", you're kind of short. Whatever people want to say, I'm already there. They're already part of my identity. I don't have a low self-esteem. I already know my shortcomings, my flaws, and those are just the ones on the surface. But I'm just saying that I am aware of who I am. And I think a Jeep Wrangler is who I am, if I am a vehicle. A Jeep Wrangler doesn't need to look perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be a smooth ride. It just kind of does what it wants. It's not good on gas. It doesn't get good gas mileage. And especially if you get one with the convertible tops, it's gonna be a loud, noisy ride. But I think it matches my personality because that's kind of who I am. I don't care about following the rules. I don't care about doing what works for other people. I care about finding my own way there. That's kind of what a Jeep Wrangler is about. It's not about impressing people with flashy, sparkly things. It could be a worn-in Jeep with mud on the tires. You don't even have to lock your doors, because if it's a convertible, they could get a knife and just slice through anyway and steal your CDs or whatever you have in there anyway. So now I get it. When you see a Jeep Wrangler in the parking lot and they either have the doors removed from it or they have the top down, they don't care if anybody's going to try to steal something. If they were going to do it, they were going to do it anyway by breaking into it easy. I just think the Jeep Wranglers, there's a certain emotional intelligence that they have, which I'm all about emotional intelligence. But Jeep Wranglers don't care what other people or what other vehicles think about them. They do what they want to do. They're not trying to impress anybody. They know what they're good at. They know what they're not. If you want to go through a big, giant, muddy puddle in a field in a Jeep, you can do that. No one's going to stop you. If you want to not wash your Jeep for months, it doesn't change the fact that that's what a Jeep is for. A Jeep does what it wants. It knows what it is. It does what it wants. I am fascinated by the concept of a Jeep Wrangler. It's so universal too. It's American. It works for me as a Southerner, Jeep Wrangler, or if I was out west where my wife is from in California. It's so universal of a concept. This thing about the Jeep wave that you've heard about. Jeep people, they're a certain demographic. And what I believe is, I believe that I'm a Jeep person. I just don't own one yet. And at some point I'd like to. But again, it'd be foolish financially for us to trade in a car that's, on top of everything else, has low insurance because it's so old and it only has a resale value of $500 because it's got a salvage title. I know all these things about it. It'd be foolish for me to get rid of my Honda Element and instead get a Jeep Wrangler. But further down the road, at some point, that's what I would like to have. And I've been thinking about this for years. It's funny because my dad, he had a 1988 Ford Ranger. From the time I was in 3rd grade up until a couple of years ago, he got it at my 10th high school reunion. So he had it for decades. And recently, a couple of years ago, or actually during my 10th high school reunion, he got a brand new, at the time, brand new Ford F-150. It's the complete opposite of that little tiny wind-up Ranger that he had. I mean, talk about an upgrade. But for decades, he drove that little truck around. And I think in the likeness of my dad, that's me. You know, I've had this old worn-out Honda Element for how many years now? Well, I say since January of 06. So now I've had it for a dozen years. And it still runs. Who am I trying to impress? But when that finally comes to an end, Jeep Wrangler. I'm obsessed, I'm romanticizing about it. And I think ultimately though, a Jeep Wrangler is an extension of my identity. Even though it's just basically a giant toy, and I know that, I think it's part of my identity. I think my spirit vehicle, my spirit car, it's a Jeep Wrangler. But what is yours?